And here's a shot of the base. Getting it into the crack first. Okay. And then flatten my brush out, get rid of these little lines. Right, nice smooth strokes. Alright, so I'm going to paint the wall here near the top. This is a piece of trim coming down, but I'm going to follow what they did last time. This wall was painted, or they painted this, the wall color, so I'm going to do the same thing. Okay? And come up to the ceiling. Don't worry about getting a little bit on the ceiling. And run across. So again, we'll fix all that stuff that's on the ceiling when we come back to cut in the ceiling color. All right, not too thick. You know, no big globulars coming down, right? Brush that out. Globulars is a technical painting term. All right, so there's a good coat. I'm gonna put 2 coats on everything, so. And it's totally up to you whether you want to do that, right? This is really close. By the time it dries, it's hard to say. I do 2 coats anyway, just to be, because I just think it works better, but you decide what you want to do. All right, so there you go, corner cut in. Here's the wall. I've got it all cut in, so we're ready to paint. So I've got it taped up on the edge. I've spot primed any primer. If you'll remember, we PVA'd that spot in the upper left-hand corner there, and I just put a quick coat of the finish paint. Cut into the ceiling. Doesn't have to be great. We'll fix that line coming up. You can probably see the line up in the upper right-hand corner right now above the window there. And down each edge. Cut across the baseboard. You can see that I cut around the plugs. Okay, all taped up, ready to roll. So I'm just going to run quickly through the rolling process. So let's roll this. I don't have a ton of space in here. The furniture's on the way, clearly. So when I get to the other side of the wall, I'll show you running all the way down. But I just want to kind of give you an idea of how you should apply it. So get your roller pad soaked. Remember, you don't want it dripping off and stuff. Just want to make sure there's some paint on there, right? I got nails to work around. Remember, you always want to start, you never want to start in a corner because there's too much paint on the roller pad, so start outside of that. And my roller pad is nice and saturated. Oops, so if you get something in the paint, you want to pull that out. My roller pad is nice and saturated, so I'm going to get pretty good size roller patch here. All right. Spread it out nice and even. Try to make sure you don't leave any lines, of course. Some roller pads leave big lines like that. You just kind of have to pay attention to it. Technically, you could run over these nails if you wanted to. I'm going to assume that most of you won't have nails on your walls, but you could run over it. Just remember, sometimes it'll leave a little hole in the roller pad. You got to roll that back out. Okay, and you can do the one, I find that with this, I use Benjamin Moore paint. So I find that as long, I can do patches like this. Some painters, so I'm going all the way down to the base. Some painters and videotapes will recommend that you, once you're done, that you take the roller pad and you run it all the way down the wall like this to try to create nice, you know, to try to create a level surface of the paint. If you use a really decent paint, it shouldn't matter. In other words, this is the way that I would do it. I'd create my patch and then I would just do another patch and just roll back into it. Okay. And that's it, right? Well, except a little rough here. I had a little too much paint on her. So I want to push it out a little. But that's it. A really, really good paint will just dry nice and even. That's what's nice about buying a better product. But if you're worried about it, then finish your wall, get it completely covered, and then run your roller pad down. Start from one end and work to the other. Okay? Now if you had, I would jump this, or you could roll over the top of it. Just depends on what you want to do. And the reason that I don't care about that nail is because you're never going to see it. Right? And the other thing too is if you put paint on here, keep an eye on it. If you decide to roll over the top of it, there's a chance that you could get too much paint around here and it might drip down. Okay? In this scenario, you want to maintain your wet edge. I also wanted to mention that the cut-in lines that we did around the ceiling, so all of these cut-in lines across the ceiling and down the side here and across the bottom, and my patches were all completely dry before I started the painting here. I do that because if this edge, if you paint the edge of this, okay, and it's wet and you roll into it like I did here, if this is starting to dry, the new paint that you're rolling into it will create a much larger stipple. So allow this to dry completely. Now you're probably going to hear some things about maintaining a wet edge, but these days with these higher or these lower VOC paints, it's really hard to, you'd have to be moving really, really fast. So just let it dry and then roll into it, okay? Now where you want to maintain your wet edge is, you'll notice that I'm moving across the wall. I want to maintain my wet edge here, right? So you roll back into it, and you want to keep moving. And you can see I'm actually able to get up and down. I'm putting 2 coats on this, but I'm actually able to get a long ways right now with the roller. Okay? So then let's, if you want to do it this way, bring it straight down. Totally up to you. Okay? And watch for your roller lines. I know I say that a lot, but you'd be amazed at the amount of, it's easy to kind of get to forget about them. You know, it's easy to just keep moving along and forget about them. So nice even layer of paint. Don't stretch the paint too much, right? Load it up. Don't be afraid to use the paint. Okay? This I'm not going to touch. I'm going to roll around it. Nice soft touch, and my roller pad doesn't have a lot of paint on it, because if I have too much paint, you're going to create these big ridges. It's going to be hard to get rid of without a brush. Okay. Okay. All right, I'm gonna hurry and change the camera angle. I don't want my paint to dry on me. Okay, all the way into the corner. Oop. A little booger. Okay, and again, if you want to do a complete rundown, if you feel more comfortable doing that. Okay, you also notice I'm not going all the way down to the tape. I'm just going as far as my cut in, just past it. Okay, there you go. It's pretty straightforward, right? You just want to make sure that you don't put too much paint on, and you want to make sure that you don't put too much, you know, that you don't have lap lines. You don't have to go too close. You can see I'm close enough here. I'm going to put another coat on it anyway, but I'm close, but I don't have a lip here. It might look like one, but it's not. It's just the difference in color right now, because of course it dries darker. And I almost fell down. Okay, so that's it. So this isn't the hardest part. The hardest part is getting everything prepped, you know, and all the taping and stuff. That's the majority of the work that you need to do. The rolling is pretty straightforward. Okay, just keep those two things in mind. Just don't put it on too thick, and don't leave any kind of ridges